One big issue that we all need to be concerned about is the $600K in reserve that this administration plans to spend to cover our operating costs. Reserves that are not usually spent move into surplus. In this case, the administration would like to take $600K of reserves and use it to cover our ordinary operating costs. If these are our ordinary operating costs, and this is a one-time dip in the bucket, from where will we get the needed $600K next year to cover these normal operating costs? Sadly, it seems like we are short $600K, which Al just said is equivalent to 8% in taxes. We are short $600K, and we can either find cuts or we can raise taxes. But we can't be stealing from Peter to pay Paul, because Paul's going to be broke next year once we take his $600K. I couldn't follow the answers that we got. And we don't have good answers. So I don't know.
Councilman Weber,
Yeah.
Mayor Fox.
Yes. And I need to just respond on this question of fund surpluses. We hold, I don't know what the number is right now, but
1.2.
I'm sorry, could I speak, please?
Yeah. You didn't know the number.
What number?
1.2 million is our new surplus.
No, I wasn't going to say that. I'm sorry.
Sorry I interrupted you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. So we have, between our utilities and the current fund, last year at this time, the number was around $5 million of reserves. Those reserves come from taxpayer, taxes that have happened in prior years. In municipal budgeting, the objective is to end the year with some level of push, I'll call it, or we have underspent, call it underspending. And that's held for a year, then goes into your fund balances going forward. That's the process that municipal budgeting goes through. It's not corporate accounting, it's not GAAP, it's none of that. And so our CFO went through the analysis. We ended last year at about $1.3 million of unspent monies. And the spend level against those funds has been light. So he conservatively said we can use 600, we should expect $600,000. So that's what that is. So the idea of saying that we're depleting a savings account is just not true. It's the way that municipal budgets work.
Where are you going to make up the extra? So if you have 1.3, you spend 600. Then the next year you spend down the 600 from the 1.3, and these are normal operating expenses. It's not like someone took C4 and dropped it in the middle of town and blew up 5 buildings that you need to build back with that 600K. How are you going to get, so the next year you need the other 600K. How are you going to keep getting that 600K?
The expectation is that you won't spend to the level of your budget. Unfortunately, that has been our experience.
And
So-
I don't think we have enough money to pay for DPW or the police. I think your 3.2 number, unfortunately, everybody, is too low.
3.75.
3.75, I think that number is too low to maintain, to do what we need to do, unfortunately.
What, no, I'm sorry. What the mayor said was true, that those reserves typically get released and they flow into surplus. What our CFO shared with us briefly in the limited opportunity yet to present to the public was that 600,000 of revenue, so one-time infusion of revenue, is basically going to be the dollars that repay the money we borrow from surplus. In other words, if we didn't have that, we'd be in another deficit again. So it's a one-time infusion of $600,000 that should flow to our surplus. We're going to spend it in order to not take from our surplus. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the same thing. We took $1 million in 2022 from our surplus, didn't repay it. 2023, we took 1.1 million from our surplus. only replenished 500,000. i.e. we did not replenish 600,000. In those 2 years, we depleted our surplus $1.6 million. This year, as far as we can tell, because I can't ask, I actually did ask the CFO this question. And if you go back to that meeting, it was a very brief response. But I did ask, this 600,000 that Councilwoman Mahoney is referencing it seems to be a one-time infusion. Is this sustainable? And his answer at that meeting was, I believe it is. I got this from somewhere else. It was it was not his own work. It was a reference that,
He did the
well,
fund balance analysis.
we can go back to the video.
We can go back to the video because I remember what he said. And but by the way, he was there to answer questions and basically 1 or 2 questions came up and then it was, let's move on.
That is just not
That is true. I'm
as I
sorry.
recall it.
Well,
Because I've got,
they go back and look at the tape. Thank you.
Larry, I gave you 15 freaking questions. Pardon me losing my patience, ladies and gentlemen. After creating over 100 questions, I reduced it to 15 significant questions. And what you're hearing today is exactly what we're dealing with as a council. The mayor in his beginning comments said something about having 5 million of reserves. Then he changed it to 1.3. We have an email that told us.
No. I didn't, don't.
You made a reference.
No, I said that our total surpluses last year between the 2 utilities and the current funds was around $5 million, and that's correct.
Yeah, but
That's
no
different
one
than-
adds those together. Those are totally
No, I'm
independent.
just saying that that's taxpayer money that has been paid in taxes. That's the first thing I said. The second thing I said is, it is true.
Taxpayer money funded the beach utility, taxpayer money funded the sewers. I don't think so.
Yeah, they do.
Taxpayer money doesn't fund the beach.
God.
Okay, so let me just reference something else and then we'll move on because this vote's already been taken. You know, these 15 questions, a team of people